So what's going on YouTube? My name is Ayush and welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Indian Dev. So guys, as you can see in this video, we're gonna develop this amazing game Tic-Tac-Toe using React hooks. So guys, I have started a series of basic React projects that we're gonna develop together, and let's see how this game gonna work. So here you can see that I'm having a title of this game, React-tic-tac-toe 2020, and we all have played this game. I can mark here as 0, then x, 0, x, and 0. So once and any condition is true, then we're gonna show an alert that 0 won the game. So it's a multiplayer game that multiple person can play this game around. And here I've given the functionality of clearing a game at any time, at any moment of the game, like I can clear. Okay, so yes, we're gonna develop this game in this video, and if you guys are new here, then please make sure to subscribe to my channel, The Indian Dev. You guys can follow me over Instagram, where basically posting the content on the regular basis, so you can learn a lot from Instagram too. So let's, without wasting any time, let's jump into the development of this game. So I'm gonna develop this game using this VS code editor. For that, here in the terminal, I'm gonna create the React application using the React script, that is create React app. So I'm gonna go to my desktop. Let me increase the size of this terminal so that you guys can see that what I'm gonna write. So here I am initiating the project, or you can say creating the project, using this npx create React app command. So this is the command to generate basically a folder structure with a very basic React application. And here I'm gonna name my application, that is React-tic-tac-toe. Okay, so this command will basically generate a application for me. For that, it's gonna take time, so I can show you guys that I have uploaded the whole source code on my GitHub repositories. Inside the repositories, I'm having this React-tic-tac-toe. So if you are having any confusion in developing this awesome game, then you can go to my GitHub profile and this particular repository to check out the code anytime. So now it's done. That command create React app has created my application React-tic-tac-toe on my dashboard. So now what I've done is I just opened that application that was created by using that command, and just ran npm start, and it has started my development server at my localhost 3000, and it looks like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove all the unnecessary files from this project itself. So if you go to index.js file, then you can look around this code structure, code snippet, that this app component that is available here as app.js is rendering this visuals. So the logo is here. So if I remove this logo, then you will see that logo has been removed. So I'm gonna remove all the unnecessary things from this file. Okay, so I'm just removing all the stuff from here. Okay, so all the things are removed from this file. As of now, I'm removing this class. Let me remove some of the files from here so that we can have a clear picture of our files, or we can say our projects. So I'm removing this logo, I'm removing these test files. Okay, now let's see if it's work or not. Okay, so it's working fine in the same manner. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, here I'm gonna define all the things, but we will not go into much deeper state in terms of UI. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy the CSS files from here, my Git repository. You guys can also go there and check out these files. I'm having this class that I need to define in index.css. So it is the app header class, which is like having the background color, font color, and the minimum height and display kind. So I can simply use this like CSS inside my app. So I'm defining it here. So yeah, now you can see that only the background color and the color of the text has been changed. Okay, so here I'm going to define the header text that I'm going to define in this. I'm going to write here TicTacToe 2020. Okay, so here I need to define some more styling. Okay, so for the heading text we are having this CSS, which is defining the color of the heading text, font size, font weight, and some margin. Okay, so inside index.css file, I'm going to close this index.css file. I'm going to define this heading text CSS, and the CSS is pretty easy, so I think you can understand this kind of CSS. So here we can see the heading text has been updated. Now we need to design the structure of that game board that looks like this. Like we have achieved this. Now we need to like create all these 9 squares. You can say that these are 9 squares, so we're gonna develop this. So how we can develop this? So I think we can divide all the 9 squares into 3 particular rows, and then we can define the columns inside those rows. Okay, so let's see. Like here I'm using some div. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this and paste. So here you can see that we have achieved to draw 3 particular rows for our like game board. So this is because we are having the CSS, which is saying that this this is particularly opting display flex, and flex direction is column. So inside is in column and column we can have multiple rows. So that's why it's showing that we are having 3 rows. For that, like I need to define the columns inside this particular row. Like in the very first row I need to define 3 columns. So I will just copy some of the CSS, like this common row and column kind of approach. So I will be having this inside my index.css. Now you can have a look that if I need to define the class name. We can define multiple classes inside like for a div. Like I can define here. Okay, I can define here that I need to provide the property of the row and some justify content center. Okay, so I'm going to provide this to all the 3 rows. Okay, so inside every row I need to declare 3 columns. So for those column what I can do is I can create a new file here. Like I will name it to square component. Okay, so I think I need to rename this to square component dot js. Okay, now it's completely fine. What I can do is I can just copy this code and paste it here. I will just rename the method name, that is square component, and I'll export this square component. Okay, so inside this square component what we're gonna have is a symbol span that will show that either the box is containing, or we can say square is containing x or 0. So as of now I am keeping this as a square. and I will import this square component into our app component like this. Import square component from square component. Okay, so now we have a square component inside our app component. I can save this. We can use the same square for creating multiple columns inside a row, like you can see here. Now you can visualize the structure of this game board that we're gonna have. So after saving these components, you can see I am having exactly these basically nine square boxes. So for that, like, I need to style these components. So like if I define any, like if I go inside this component and define any styling, like border I'm defining 1px solid red. So this way we can have the game board like here. Like I can define the padding 30 pixels. Okay, I need to give it in terms of like string. So you can see that we are having a visual, our game board, where we are having like exactly nine squares. That's what we need inside this particular thing, particular game. So I'm just gonna use these designs and these classes that I have defined here. So I will copy this square and remove this inline styling. I always prefer to use that CSS based classes for styling. So I'm defining here class name equals to, okay, I need to define these classes here. So here I am having this property square. I will apply it to my square component. Okay, so boom guys, here you can see that we are having some of the visuals of our squares. The next thing is, what I can do is I can provide the classes from the parent component in terms of props. So from here what I would suggest, like I will pass on these borders so that we can have a visualization regarding the borders. So I'm defining these classes side index.css border bottom and right. Bottom and right is required for this very first square. Okay, I need to save this as well. Okay, border bottom right. So I have defined it here. I need to use this like class name inside this square component, so I will be receiving all those stuff inside this props. So what I'm gonna do is, like I can define the classes here. If there is something called props.class name, then what I need to do is I just need to use that class name props.class name and my original class, that is square. Okay, else we will be having the simple square class. Okay, now I need to provide this square class to this class name property. Okay, so now you can have a proper visualization of this. So from index.css border bottom right says that it needs to show the border right, that is this line, and border bottom, that is this line. Okay, so in the same manner we can assign the classes. Like I need to define it for this as well. Okay, so you can see that we are having some kind of like visualization for each of these. And for this, like if I define it like this way, so here we need not to like have the border right. So what I will do is I'm gonna use only border bottom. Okay, same with this, I'm gonna use only border bottom. Now you can see that we are having a like proper visualization of such things. Same thing, I'm gonna paste it here. So for this we need not to have this border bottom, we will just be having like the right border. Okay, so you guys can see and visualize this game. It looks like similar to this, like we are having exactly 9 boxes, we are having the title. Now we just need to add this button at the bottom, so I can add it here. Button, I will define it as clear game so that it can be used to clear the game. Okay, here I can add my name, uh, my channel's name, that is the Indian Dev. You can add your name here in case you are developing this game. So we can have some more like CSS like classes. Okay, so I'm having a class for clear button, I'm gonna apply this to that particular button. Okay, so I'm defining here as class name equals to this. Okay, so now I think that we are done with the UI part. Like we are having all the like game board, we are having the clear button, we are having that like heading for our game. So now we can start moving with the logic of this game. So for that, like as discussed, we're gonna use React hooks. So I'm gonna use this particular React hook, that is use state. If you guys don't know about React hook, or you don't know about this particular React hook, that is use state, then you guys can go over like my videos about React hooks and you can get a proper understanding about that. So I'm defining here that uh, game state, that at any moment what is the state of our game. So I'm defining here game state using this use state React hook. Okay, like this, and I will be updating this particular game state using this method update game state. Okay, so like if we discuss about the like logic or the game state, we need to have all the 9 like values for all the 9 squares. So I'm gonna define here initial state. Like I am defining here the initial state, like initial state, and inside initial state I want to have like an empty, like an array of 9 elements which will be having like no data, like this. So here I am having exactly 9 elements, or we can say 9 strings which are having nothing, like the empty string we can say. So I will be using this initial state array as our game's initial state. So initially in the like game state will be having this initial state, so that our board can be like look like empty boxes all over the game. So what I'm gonna do is I will pass all the like these game states to our squares. So from here I can pass on the state stating that state. Okay, so for this particular, that is the our like very first square here, so I'm gonna pass here as game state 0. Okay, so similarly I'm gonna pass the states for all the squares. and at that what I'll do, I'll just update the index of that particular square according to the game state. So like this is the very first, so I am defined as 0. For this I need to define as 2. For this I will be defining 3, 4, and similarly I will defining it for the rest of the squares. Okay, so now as like I have defined the states for each of the squares, what I can do is I can go inside the square component and just render the thing that we are having inside our props, like props and the state. State is the state of this particular square element. Okay, so here you can see that as I have provided the initial state as the empty string, so all the boxes are empty as of now. So now what we need, that if I click on this square, then the text should appear here. So for that I'm gonna use the onClick methods. Let me little bit shrink this and expand my VS Code. Okay, so here I'm gonna define the onClick method. Okay, and click on this particular square component. Okay, so here we are. So while I will be clicking on this, I will calling a method that on square clicked, and I will be passing the exactly the index of this particular square. So for this square the index is 0, and I'm defining this particular method inside my app component. So I'll be using the array function for this. Okay, so here I'm going to receive the index of that particular square. Okay, so similarly, like for all other squares, we're gonna use the same approach. And yes, and similarly, like the way we have defined our game states, or we can say the square states, I'm just defining the indexes for the click events, so that if I click on that particular square, then I can know that which square has been clicked on. So yes, this is like we have passed this onClick method to the square component. So I'm going to use this on this span tag. So I will be receiving it from props dot onClick. Okay, so whenever I will be clicking on this, I will be getting the callback on this on square clicked. So at that time what I want to do is, like, I need to update the game state of that particular index, but before that I need to identify that is this the turn of 0 player, or is this the turn for the X player. So I'm defining another state using the same React hook. I'm defining that is X chance, like X gonna play next or 0 gonna play next. So for that, like I'm using the same approach. I will be having a method called as that update is X chance, and I will be using use state with the initial state false. So it will help us to memorize the, or we can say to keep the state of the players that who is playing at that certain moment. So for that, like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna retrieve all the strings from our game state, like array from game state. Okay, so now we are having all the strings inside this array, and for that like what I want to update is, in that string array I want to update the particular index on which we have clicked with the element. Like if it's the chance of x, then we need to update it as x, else we will be placing o, or we can say 0 inside that particular square box. So this will update this particular string, and we need to update the game state with this updated string array, strings array. And we need to update this variable that we are like keeping to memorize things for, like chances, or we can say turns of the players. And I'm gonna just update it as boolean. So now let's see if the code works or not. Like if I'm clicking on this, then we're gonna show any text changes on the squares. So I'm gonna click here. So you can see here that we are receiving the, like, boom guys, we have achieved like to maintain the state of the component. And we are here to, like, we can see that this variable is working fine. That for the very first time I clicked here, so the result was 0, and for the next time x with then 0, then x, and it's like doing absolutely fine. Now the next thing is, like, if I just want to clear the game, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach an on click event with this method, and on click I'm gonna update game state with initial state. So initial state is the empty array that we have declared here. So if I am having anytime, like I'm having some state, I can clear that game anytime by clicking on this button. So I think this is working absolutely well. Now the next thing is the final thing, to identify the winner at any moment, or we can say at any certain point of time. So for that, I'm gonna use another React hook, that is use effect. Again, I would say that if you don't know about use effect, you can go and watch my video on this topic, that is use effect. I hope it will clear you the concept of these React hooks. Okay, so inside React hooks we're gonna define a callback method and the second parameter that will be helpful to analyze, like if anytime the game state is gonna update, we're gonna get a callback on this use effect. So if anytime we are clicking on any of the like squares, then we're gonna update this game state, and for that we're gonna receive the callback here. So inside this callback we're gonna check the winner. So I'm defining another method that will check if there is any winner or not. So for that I am declaring this particular method using the same array functions. So like for this logic, you can see the code around my like GitHub repository, or you can simply go over this React blog that contains an example for developing this tic-tac-toe game. And here you can see that there is a easy function to analyze, or we can say calculate the winner. So it is comparing all the squares, and for all the possible conditions it's checking our state. So for that, like, I just have similar code here. Okay, so like as I've discussed, I'm going to use effect. So like for that I will be checking that if any winner is there or not. So I will be calling this method, and it will return me the winner. Like if there is any winner, it will return me the winner. Okay, so if there is winner, so you can see here, if there is any winner, we're gonna receive that particular like player. And if there is no winner, then we're gonna receive null. So if there is any winner, I'm gonna add a condition here, like if there is winner. Okay, so I'm gonna show an alert that that particular player has won the game. So I'm gonna show the alert, and inside alert I'm gonna write the same text like tada and the winner name. So we will be receiving exactly the person or the player who has won the game. So winner has won the game, and after this, like, I will be clearing the game. So for that clearing the game, I'm gonna use the same thing that I have used on this clear button. So I'm gonna copy here and just paste it here. Now let's see if this, like, if our this logic is working or not. It will compare all the squares while working. So I'm gonna refresh here. So I press 0, x, 0 again, x here, 0 again, and if I'm gonna press x here, so it should say that like I've won the game, or we can say x has won the game. So let's see. Okay, so boom guys, here you can see that tada, x has won the game. As the last player was x, so x has won the game. So now if I click on OK, then it's gonna reset the game to the initial state, as we have like called the method update game state with the initial state. So it has like set the state to the empty array, that is the initial state. So I think like we are done with this game, and it was an amazing experience to develop such kind of basic projects with you guys. So like it was fun to develop this using the React hooks, that is use state and use effect. And you guys can do some betterment with this specific project. Like I have done the color changes as per the user. So for 0 it is white, for x it is like sky blue, and you can play around with the animation. You can play around with the hover effect, and for your for your portfolio, you can say for the grabbing the opportunity of any job, you can deploy it somewhere, and you can showcase your projects directly into the interviews. And if you guys are new here, then we're gonna post some more videos for React projects. You can subscribe us, and if you really like this video, then please make sure to hit the like button. Thank you for watching this video guys. Thank you very much.